climate mitigation is around climate financing. So that will be a discussion. That in Copenhagen, which was, I think, COP15, people pledged 100 billion US dollars. Up to now, I think nothing has been given. But for Africa and for Kenya, Mr. Speaker, we are taking the carbon credit issue. This carbon credit issue must be concluded. And again, thirdly, the finalization of the operationalization of Article 6 of the Paris Agreement, which defines carbon market, is what I think Kenya, led by President Ruto, and all of us, and Africa, we will take it to the table that let us not have a talk show. The UN meetings must come with clear, achievable, clear, deliverable for fighting climate mitigation and climate adaptation.
Mukami.
Speaker, with your permission, kindly, I request to finish the other question with your kind permission. Thank you, because I had to, but it's a privilege of being the first. Thank you, Speaker. I just want to know where the nominee came from, the Military of Defense, because I happen to have served in the Committee of Defense and interacted with the ministry a lot. There is something peculiar that happened that I've not seen, where the public officers use defense choppers, the military choppers, and the military artillery to move around the country, putting the risk of the defense and of course the officers. In fact, in the public domain, it can be true or not true, which if not true, I will withdraw, is that the military has feared you. You have become more military than the military themselves. Is it true, and why did the military fear you?
I don't think the military fear me, but you have put many things. I don't know, you talked about choppers, and then you brought the issue of fear. So are you saying I fear going by military choppers?
No, I said I've never seen other public officers, other than the president, who is the commander-in-chief, using military choppers to move around the country, and other members of the public office who are not in the military. And also, there is a war.
You're talking of civilians? Because military officers are also public officers.
Yeah, like when the deputy president, like the ministers. This is that I've never seen for us sometimes. So I wanted just him to clarify whether also deputy president is allowed to use military choppers, or was it misuse of power in your, because it's something that I've never seen with the previous ministers.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, let me say it because it gave me a lot of bad publicity. But when you serve in a public office, that's part of life. Within the reading and the instruction of the Commander-in-Chief, at the Ministry of Defense, the Commander-in-Chief is the President. The President and the First Lady are the people allowed to use military air assets with a rider. If the Commander-in-Chief allows the Speaker of the National Assembly to be airlifted from Nairobi to Bungoma, that is in order, but with the concurrence of the Commander-in-Chief. I don't know, I don't think the rank and the file and the leadership of the Defense Ministry fear me. Maybe my style. And I'll take the same style to Forest. I'll take the same style. I had the same style in Parliament.
We have no evidence that they fear you. Mukami?
Thank you, Chair. Given the recent concerns about the government directives on grazing within the forest foresters are really harassing the communities. What are the long-term plans for collaborating with communities living near the forests? The other one is about the floods. Recently, the country experienced floods that left many stranded on account of ineffective rescue operations. If approved, how best would you collaborate with the relevant agencies to ensure rapid rescue operations during such incidents? Thank you.
Hold Duale Mishi. Let's take 2-2.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Chairman, before I raise my questions, I just want to ask the nominee just to clear some airs for the benefit of the public, because when His Excellency the President pronounced the list of the nominee, he was given the defense docket. But when the list came to the Parliament, it was under the environment, climate and forestry docket. So Kenyans are asking, is it maybe the President was doubting his ability and leadership capacity, or what was the reason? I just want him maybe to clear the murmurs by the public. My questions. My first question, in accordance with the fourth schedule.
Ask one Mishi, so ask only another.
Yeah, in accordance with the fourth schedule of the Constitution, environmental conservation is a function of both the national and the county government. How are you going to ensure collaboration between those two governments, that is the national and the county government, so that you also avoid duplication of programs in terms of the same function? The last one, maybe it is how are you going to improve and maybe safeguard those Kenyans who are living or are located near the refinery and chemical plants, because there's a lot of pollution. Thank you.
Yes, nominee.
Chair, let me start with Honorable Mishi. Even after this, in the event this committee approves me, and before even I'm appointed, the President has a prerogative right to assign even another ministry. So he might even take me from environment to somewhere else if this committee approves me. So Honorable Mishi, that is the powers of the President. After all of us are approved, in 1 week he can reshuffle, and maybe he might even take me back to defense, or foreign affairs, or even gender, or even youth affairs and sports. And I am ready, or education, I am ready to serve in any capacity that the President finds it, deems it right. The second one, I think, is a very good question. Environmental matters is devolved under the fourth schedule. And at the county level, we have a very good relationship. We have got the county environmental committees appointed by the governors. The chair on behalf of the governor is the CEC for environment. The secretary is our county director of NEMA. And that's how they work together with all the other multi-agency team. But soon, if this committee appoints me, we are trying to create now, and we hope if this committee appoints me, we are going to sign a more intergovernmental environmental framework between the Ministry of Environment, Climate Change and Forestry and the Council of Governors, where I will sign and the chair of the Council of Governors will sign. On grazing, Honorable Nyokapi, this is a very, very complex issue.
Honorable Mukami.
Mukami, my very good friend, the women rep of Nyeri County. Under the Forestry Act, we have created a very robust, because we cannot conserve, we cannot restore, we cannot manage our forest and our wetlands without the involvement of the communities and the citizens who live around those forests. So this house, in its wisdom in lawmaking, they created something called Community Forest Association. And these community forest associations are the ones who are supposed to guide at what part of the forest do people graze? How far do they graze? Do they graze where we have doing regeneration of the forest? So what are we doing to make sure that we don't have a conflict? And Mr. Speaker, in some of the forests, unfortunately, powerful people in government, in the private sector, who own thousands of livestock, graze in those forests. I'm sorry to say that. But if this House approves me and I become the minister, I want to do some key long-term plans. One, just to have to review the whole grazing management plans, how we can regulate the authorized grazing in our forest ecosystem, how we can fence off areas where we feel are very sensitive in the forest, that we don't allow our animals or our farmers to farm. And lastly, I think the forest community management regulation of 2016 has not been operationalized, and I'm going to operationalize with the approval of this House, because that will give them the rights. The Speaker, the second question of Honorable Mokami, I didn't get it. If you can repeat it. Oh, yeah, it was about the floods. Yes. Mr. Speaker, climate change today is the biggest threat to humanity. I mean, you can see what's happening in India and Ethiopia in the last 1 week. Thousands of people have died because of the mudslide. You have seen the wildfires in California. You have seen the hurricanes, what they're doing, kind of destruction. And coming back home, the last 2 years, we had a severe drought that killed many livestock, affected our farmers, affected food security, destroyed, and then next after the drought, we had the floods, which again affected livelihoods, destroyed our infrastructure, roads, and farms, and livestock was swept away. So, and that's why, because of the climate change and all this, one of the issues why we're having 15 billion trees is to recover our forest ecosystem, restoration, regeneration, bring back our biodiversity. So, Mr. Speaker, I think I have tried to answer the questions of...
Honorable Chairman, point of order.
Yes.
Part of my question was not answered. Chairman, I was asking this question: how do we improve the health of communities which are living near polluted sites? I'm asking this because in my constituency, there is a plant built by the Titanium Base who are doing some mining in Kwale, and there's no mitigation which has been done, and it's a residential area. That is why I was asking that question specifically.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I forgot to answer that question. Let me answer it. It's not only in Likoni. Mr. Speaker, we have a serious problem between how county governments enforce their physical planning and zoning of areas, and the role of environmental institutions in making sure that zoning is respected. Mr. Speaker, even here in Nairobi, you'll find county governments with no regard to the law, to the Physical Planning Act, allowing industry and factories to be established in residential areas and bars and bring noise pollution. The same, you cannot have a refinery next to a residential area. The laws, the environmental laws, the Physical Planning Act, the Land Use Act, all those don't allow it. So, Mheshimiwa Mishi, this is because of corruption. And Mr. Speaker, that's why you see that skyscrapers are appearing next to each other, buildings which has no ventilation, they have no air, there's no sand, particularly in this cold weather of July. Your children will live in an apartment, they will never see the sun, they'll never get the fresh air. So all this, Mr. Speaker, if I am confirmed, I want to assure this House, and governors must listen to me, and we are going to do an audit. NEMA is going to do an audit of all factories and industries which are established in residential areas, and we will revoke their licenses. There must be order, there must be respect for environment as we build our country.
Shuria, you'll pass Razo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairman. Honorable Duale, you are the immediate former Cabinet Secretary for Defense. And defense in our country is a celebrated institution. As you move to environment, if the House confirms your nomination, what are some of the good things that you have seen in defense that you are likely to carry over? Secondly, is the issue of environment. I want to say without benefit of doubt, if the members of parliament are not used in planting trees, in conserving the environment, then that thing is bound to fail, and it will fail seriously. In northern Kenya, currently, the Northern Rangeland Trust, NGOs, are the ones that are being used for conservation, environmental support programs. But at the same time, we have left out KWS and forestry, which is a very serious omission. Going forward, maybe tell us what plans you may have, so that institutions of government are not killed silently by non-governmental actors. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Speaker. The nominee, Honorable Duale, karibu bunge tena. My question is that Kenya hosts one of the United Nations Environmental Office and Program in Nairobi at Gigiri. And the people of Kenya, especially at the grassroots level, I doubt whether they can fill this office, and it's a UN office. If approved by this August House, can you tell us how will you leverage on that status, and how will Kenyans fill this office and make a difference in our nation for the betterment of our environment? Thank you.
Nominee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable members. What do I carry from defense? Of course, I will not carry the guns, I will not carry the arsenal and everything, but from a human resource part, I'll carry the discipline that I have learned in defense. I'll carry the order and implementation of task done very fast. I will carry the patriotism they have to the country. and I will carry the respect that they give to each other within the rank and the file, and the teamwork that we had at the defense. Those are things. Secondly, I think on the conservancy, Northern Trust, I think, is one of the biggest. There are many conservancies. Most of them, Mr. Speaker, they're not under my ministry, they're under the Ministry of Wildlife. They have airstrips. But I think working with the other ministries and working with the leaders, working with the stakeholders, even working with some of our security agents, we need to have a conversation on how these conservancies, and particularly members of parliament from the ASAL region, on how these conservancies are run, how they are managed, what is the benefit to the communities, how will they behave when there is a conflict, particularly during the drought. Our animals, the animals of the people in the ASAL, when there is a lack of water and pasture, they enter. Honorable Osuda will agree with me in Samburu, there's a lot of conflict. So I think we need to have a more bigger conversation. We need to discuss about the carbon market, how much they're getting, the Northern Trust Fund, vis-a-vis, are they implementing the 40% that the law and the regulations give to the people? Honorable Mule, we are a very privileged country. We are a very privileged because we host UN, we host UNEP and UN Habitat. These are the only UN agencies in the global south. So it's a big privilege and honor for our country. And in fact, that's why in some quarters, Nairobi is called the environmental capital of the world. And it's the only UN body. And this is where you have the expertise, the knowledge, the pool of experts, the top world experts on environment are based in Nairobi. They advise government very, very far away from Nairobi. As Kenyans, as a minister for nominee for environment, I want to assure you that that proximity we have to this institution, it must work in our favor. We must use the skilled labor. We must use the experts that we have. We must use the data they have to build our own environmental data. We must use them to build the capacity and the skills of our staff in our country, in the midst of environment. We must do technology and skill transfer from the men and women who work. And as the focal ministry to UNEP, I want to assure this committee that I will work very, very, very closely with them. And I will work also very, very closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the two ambassadors, or the ambassador who is second or posted to UNEP and UN Habitat. I'll work with them, that we must make sure that this important institution help us. We are trying to build, lastly, what we call the State of the Environment Report. The State of the Environment Report, a very important report that will come to Parliament. We must leverage on the skills, on the experts who work and who come from globally at the United Nations Environmental Program and UN Habitat.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Nominee Aden Duale, you know, the Ministry of Environment requires a no-nonsense CS like Mishuki. You know, remember when Mishuki went to transport, he cleaned up the public transport system. And when he went to environment, he actually cleaned up Nairobi River. You could even drink the water then. But after he left, he just went back to the bad old days. Now, for us to be able to gauge your suitability, it is important that we make reference to the position that you have held, which we are aware of. And so I have two questions based on your suitability, based on your experience, your past experience. First one is corruption in the recruitment of military officers. You have been in the docket of defense, and from yesterday there was a lot of discussion about how much Kenyans have to pay so that their sons or daughters are recruited into the military. What did you do about these menace when you are CS for defense? And secondly, in the recent demos, when Kenyans were exercising their constitutional rights under Article 37, the military was deployed to Kenyan streets via Gazette Notice 7861, signed by you on 25th of June 2024. Now, unlike police that use tear gas, canisters, batons, rubber bullets, water cannons, the military is known for live bullets, grenades, assault rifles, tankers, and bombs. Now, what was the intention behind sending the military to the streets? Was there a plan to shoot to kill demonstrators?
Mr. Speaker, I'm not John Michuki, but I will be like John Michuki. I can assure the member that I'll try my best. Nairobi River Commission used to be under the Ministry of Environment. Now it's not under me. It's under the Deputy President. But we need to deal with the Nairobi River Commission. The pollution that is going on in Nairobi River Commission, Nairobi rivers, because of the dysfunctional sewage system, which needs to be upgraded. The dumping sites of Nairobi County, all of them, including Dandora, are on Nairobi and Nairobi rivers. So the governor of Nairobi, at some stage, and I hope he will listen to me if I'm appointed, he has to look for other dumping sites outside the Nairobi River Causeway, Rivers Causeway. So coming to military recruitment, I agree with you, it's a systemic issue. And I was watching yesterday, the speaker said, the president himself is concerned. But we have agreed before I left the Ministry of Defense that going forward, before the next recruitment, we must sit, we must have a conversation. The way the speaker said yesterday, I was watching him, we must communicate candid to the public, and we must deal with that monster. It cannot be a situation where few people are taken to court-martialed. Kenyans, in their mind, are saying, for you to join the military, and based on the national security sections, is supposed to be the face of Kenya. Kenyans, for them to join the military, they must pay between 400 to 500,000. I think that is unacceptable. If more, that's unacceptable, and it's part of the corruption that I was telling you, which is, I think all of us together, the citizens themselves, the anti-corruption agencies, all of us together, we must face on. Why did I deploy KDF? I did not deploy KDF. The framers of the Constitution put Article 241, 3B, and 3C in the Constitution. So Kenya Defense Forces are in the streets. They're in Boni Forest fighting Al-Shabaab. They're in North Rift making sure that we deal with the banditry. They were in Westgate during the terror attack. They were in Garissa University during the terror attack where we lost many people. So for peace, public order, public safety, where the police are overwhelmed, Article 241, 3B kicks in. The function of the Minister for Defense, by then me, is once the article kicks in, then I am supposed to do certain subsidiary legislation. I gazette. And Mr. Speaker, all of us know Article 132 of the Constitution obligates the President to protect the other arms of government. he is the chair of the National Security Council. That day, the office of the Chief Justice and the Supreme Court as an institution was under threat, under attack. Parliament and the colleagues sitting here, if KDF did not come to assist the other security agents, God forbid, many members of Parliament could have died, including our Speaker. Parliament could have been burnt. I will not be that irresponsible as a Minister of Defense with a provision of the Constitution. I used the law. And then the House went further the next morning, because it was going on a very long recess. They invoked Article 241(3)(c). But when LSK went to court, Justice Mugambi, I don't want to discuss more because the matter is still in court, gave orders that I should give and gazette and do a new gazette on the terms of engagement, on how many places, and now I said in the 47 places. Ours was to protect key institutions. Parliament is a symbol of democracy and governance. It is the home of the people's representative. Mr. Speaker, all my life in Parliament, people used to come and present petitions. And any member of Parliament who's outside, near the gate, used to receive and take it to the office of the clerk or the office of the Speaker. I've never seen where people want to come and ban Parliament. So I think I want to thank the framers of the Constitution. I participated, the Speaker participated, many other members participated. I think it's today and that day, 25th of June, I realize how important Article 241(3)(b) and (c) is.
Owen.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to ask a question to the nominee, Honorable Duale. Just one question. That this country envisages to have a nuclear plant in a place called Uyombo in Kilifi County. Without due regard to the environmental issues in question, like the delicate ecosystem, the people, and the environment, Honorable Duale, going forward, if you are given this opportunity, how do you intend to treat this threat to the people of Uyombo in terms of nuclear plant in their radioactivity materials and nuclear waste and the hazards that come with nuclear installations? Just that, my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Owen Baya. I think it's the same thing I was saying. How did the county government of Kilifi give land? So I want to assure you and this House and the people of Kilifi, if I am confirmed, it will be the first thing I'm going to do, go to that site, make sure all the environmental impact assessments are done, the people have participated, their views collected. And the Speaker, environment is very key. I said Article 70 of the Constitution says, if a citizen feels that his rights have been curtailed in an environmental matter, it says go to the court. Public participation is very important. I will be the first person. I won't wait for you to send, if I'm approved, to summon me to Parliament on Wednesday morning. I'll do, it will be on my table. I'll deal with it.
Murugara.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Duale, there is a very bad scenario that is faced countrywide, especially as regards our riverine areas and the rivers themselves emanating from Mount Kenya, Aberdares, whereby almost half the year now they are drying up. We are told the reasons is environmental degradation, but also climate change is blamed. As human beings, we cannot sit pretty. We must have policies in place to ensure that these rivers do not disappear forever. What policies are you likely to put in place to ensure that we recover these rivers, which are actually the bottom line of our livelihoods?
Thank you, Murugara.
Ferdinand, let's take two.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dwale. If you are actually confirmed by this committee, first of all, I want to thank you, and I will tell you that I think that I've witnessed extensive planting efforts by the ministry in which you have been assigned. Now, to ensure that we retain that, I just want to ask you if it's possible, instead of actually interfering with the planting, what have you, in agriculture areas, is it possible, are you able to agree with me that you can now plant trees along the roads? I say this because I went to Denmark and I was surprised. The roads are all covered because we got 6 meters from the center, and that is an area that I think we can plant trees in all these areas. Secondly, and lastly, I come from slopes of Mount Elgon. I can tell you, when I was growing up, that area, forest was very thick, and it was actually an attraction of the rains. Today, it's being cleared. So what are you going to do if you get this opportunity as a Minister for Environment? What do you want to do to save Mount Elgon? And of course, I don't know about Mount Kenya and other places. Mount Elgon, where I saw thick forests being cleared now. What are you going to do?
Honorable Speaker, let me start with Honorable Murugara. Yes, even at the downstream of where I come from, Garissa, Tana River, you'll find the water level of Tana River, getting it from Abadeas, Mount Kenya, and all that, is reducing. And I agree with you. It's all about environmental degradation. And that's why these 15 billion trees will help us to restore, to regenerate our forests. Forests play a very key role in making sure that our rivers have enough water, they are safe, they're sound. But there's another element where people have put big farms, flower farms, upstream, and use the water. So the water, in fact, is reduced because of human activity, the agriculture. And I think that should be another conversation that we will need to have. Honorable Wanyonyi, yes, roads is part of the, in these 15 billion trees. We have talked to the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Roads that going forward, construction of roads, mainly even in the highways, the contractor is obligated to plant trees and nurture them until they grow as part of the contract. You have seen and you have gone in many of the Western world during mainly summer. You think you are driving in a highway, but both sides of the road is forested. This can be done, and we have agreed with the President and other stakeholders even before I came to environment. That should be one. And the contractors, it becomes part of their contract. Even now, we can still tell the contractors who are maintaining the roads, now we have a maintenance aspect, so that they can do it. Mount Elgon is part of why we should increase from 12.3% to 30% by 20. In all our wetlands, we have 11,000 wetlands. We have 8.8 forest cover. For us to increase, I think we will pick on Mount Elgon and all the areas which have been degraded, we will start do the restoration and afforestation programs under the 15 billion presidential program.
Daud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want Honorable Dwale to, he has talked about recycling, but we have a problem with recycling that the refuse collection which is done poorly, and then it is gone and put into our forests and wetlands. What will he do if he is confirmed? Secondly, you have talked about CFAs. There are agreements of CFAs, Community Forest Associations, whereby my predecessor, long time back, Honorable David Muiraria, the late, he had introduced the Shamba system, where people could go and take care of the trees in the forest, as well as do shambas, plant and take care. Because there is a problem in our forests, nominee, because there is lantana shrub. I don't know if you have heard of lantana. And that shrub, you cannot remove it. It's so expensive to remove. And the forest associations do remove it when they are planting. And I believe the Ministry of Forestry cannot remove it because the funds are not available. What would you think about that? You talked about noise pollution. That's the last one, Madam Speaker. You talked about noise pollution, and NEMA is in charge. But Honorable Duale, you know, NEMA, it's like as if it does not have teeth. Because there is noise pollution from bars, from nightclubs, from religious institutions as well. And it's a menace. So how will you handle it if NEMA do not handle it? Thank you.
Mary Master.
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. My concern is still on waste. You know, waste is a nuisance. I'm wondering what mechanisms or interventions you intend to employ to address the menace of waste, so that we convert it from being a nuisance to a resource. Recycle, reuse, produce, regenerate energy, name it, because it is a real issue. Outline for us those interventions that you will employ. Secondly, I want to pick it from the question that was asked by Honorable Mbui on corruption. You've said yourself, corruption is killing our country. And I remember when we interviewed you on your first nomination, we still raised this issue of corruption in recruitment of officers to KDF. And you promised us here that you're going to deliver. But Honorable Duale, I put it to you that you disappointed the country. During that time, the amount that was being paid was between 300 to 400. But during your time, you presided over an increase from now 300 to 400 to 700 to 1 million. And as representatives of the people, our constituents report this to us. At some point, even efforts to reach you were not fruitful. You could not pick our calls. So now, my question is, why should we trust you? Why should we believe you? Why should we believe that you are not going to transfer this corruption to the Ministry of Environment? Because even there's recruitment of forest to others. You need to assure Kenyans that you will do something when you get to the Ministry of Environment. Lastly, Honorable Chairman.
Last two.
On deforestation.
Okay.
There's a lot of felling of trees, even in public forests. We are saying, let us plant trees. Let us plant. But what are we doing about deforestation? Can I ask the last one that have been requested by the public?
Go ahead.
A member of the public has asked me to ask Honorable Duale, what is your connection with the Juja International Abattoir in Mrima in Juja? It has environmental wastage. I don't know what that means. Probably you can give your thoughts on that. Thank you.
Let me start with something Mrima Juja. Maybe the people who I sell my fattened bulls take to many slaughterhouse. If they buy and take it to a slaughterhouse, that is the only relationship I have. I don't own slaughterhouse. I sell to Farmers Choice. I sell to Kenya Meat Commission. I am a very serious livestock keeper. And I do what we call feedlot. Two, So ask that person, maybe he's looking for another Duale. Let me answer about recruitment. I refuse to pick your call and many other people's calls because of corruption. It's because of the corruption. You wanted me to employ for you people. And many members of parliament will agree with me when even they send me text. I said, please go to the nearest sub-county recruitment center. So I'm very sorry, Honorable Mercy, if I didn't pick your call, I was scared you'll ask me to recruit somebody for you. And that is the level of how I abhor corruption. 2, I think when I went, is the only recruitment that I did under my leadership. The only one. And the speaker said it's a systemic. It was
Okay, inform him.
But Speaker, I must agree if I want to be informed.
Okay, point of order.
I remember the standing orders.
Point of order, Speaker.
Let's hear her.
My call, Honorable Speaker, I was calling the Honorable CS to seek clarification with respect to the concerns that were raised by my constituents, that those who were successful and had reported to the training camp were being chased away over flimsy reasons. And I think I can quote, one of my constituents was told that his testicles are not equal. That is why it's being dismissed or returned from the training camp. So I wanted to seek clarification from the CS to tell me what are the guidelines for one to be recruited. Somebody who is successful, he has already reported and is being chased away. I wanted it to secure that law so that my constituents did not lose it as a representative of the people of Texas.
Mr. Speaker.
Oh, yes, what's your point of order? Okay, Mary.
It was very sad indeed. And my constituent lost that slot because I could not get the CS to clarify.
We hear you. Yes.
In fact, I had to look for a chairman of a committee to call the CS on my behalf because I thought, because I'm a small person, he can't pick mine.
You are an
He actually picked, but I was not helped. I was not helped. I am speaking on behalf of the people of Teso South.
Good. But you are vetting him on behalf of Kenyans.
Yes.
Yes, on behalf of Kenyans. Yes. And it did not only happen to Teso South. Many Kenyans were returned from the training camp. And we are told those slots were sold again to some waiting rich guys with 1,700,000. It cannot continue. And we made it very clear to the CS nominee for defense that it should not repeat itself next time.
Yes, Junet.
Mr. Speaker, I want to sympathize with my colleague. And that issue has been rampant, people complaining. But the only thing I'm wondering with is if the CS of defense by then could do measurement of testicles. It's what I don't know. That's what I don't know.
Mr. Speaker, let me, because it's a, Mr. Speaker, let me make it very clear.
Yes.
That the grounds given for the rejection of that recruit from Teso South is valid. Next year, if such a person comes, he will not be recruited into the Kenya Defense Force. Mr. Speaker, Kenya Defense Force's recruitment is different from the recruitment of the police. When people go are recruited at the sub-counties and they come, a very serious medical checks takes place. A number of people are sent because of medical ailments. And I think the former Vice Chief of Defense...
unequal testicles ailments.
Yeah, there were people...
Women can know that, Chair.
Mr. Speaker, I think if you allow me to finish, there are many. The testicles are not going to, it's one of them. There are many, and the chairman of defense will agree. They measure.
Point of order.
let me finish before the point of order. Mr. Speaker, there are many colleagues, there are many leaders who sent me why their person has been chased. And in 10 minutes, the leadership of KDF could give me 1, 2, 3, 4 reasons, measurements including. So I am sure the next,
women to assist them
not only on this. So, Mr. Speaker, there are certain criteria. There are many, and those who leave, they are not replaced. And I think let us not discuss, with your permission, the Kenya Defense Forces in a very negative. They have a special place in that. But the chairman of defense can call the generals in camera, and you are now talking about testicles. They will tell you something about even the teeth. They will tell you many things. And some of these things is because when you go, the training of the Kenya Defense Forces is so vigorous that you don't risk to take somebody who will die in the course of the training. So don't compare it with how the police are trained. Don't compare it with how the Kenya prisoners are trained. But I am sure the information, the reasons why many, including my sister, Mheshimiwa Mary Emase. And please, going forward, if it was in camera, Mr. Speaker, I will even tell you more. But now that it's in public, I don't want to say.
What's your point of order?
Point of order, Mr. Speaker. You know, the issue raised by Honorable Emase is something that is out there in the public. Many Kenyans complaining about. Sometimes they think those are flimsy reasons why they are not taken. And I could understand maybe someone has squinted eyes because of shooting and, you know, flat foot, maybe because of running. I'm really wondering why, if what work testicles would really have to do with joining the disciplined forces. So I don't think we should belabor, but don't take it lightly that there are Kenyans who are raising concerns on the reasons why they are not taken to disciplined forces.
Point of order.
Yes,
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. With tremendous respect to Honorable Duale. And let the Army hear this. It's very important. We know the historical background of the set pieces that were given in the Army recruitment, including teeth. It is there to bite bullets at a certain point in time in history. Today, they do not bite bullets. That's why you hear that saying, you will have to bite the bullet, because the Indians were refusing to do it. So you had to have teeth so that you could bite the bullet. We required tall people so that they would see enemies from a distance. Today, you do not have to do that. Because if that was the case, the Chinese and the Japanese would have a challenge. Eventually, such things became disqualified. I think the whole code needs to be revised so that we do not have human rights abuses. But they are not even abuses. They are excuses that the army is using so that it is able to bar some Kenyans from joining the forces, and, as we are saying, so that other people can actually get the slots. So surely the army must open up on this. Thank you.
Let's not escalate this.
Okay.
For avoidance of doubt, Honorable Duale, I also have a child who was sent away for exactly the same reasons as Mary Mases.
Yes, I think just to give the way forward.
Not my child,
Because
but not my son, but a child in my neighborhood.
Your Excellency,
Yes.
Speaker, you have, because of
And you remember I told you
yes,
about it.
Yes, I think the leaders are raising very good valid.
Yes, Dawood, what is it?
You know, we have talked about men only, but even women are discriminated against. When they do a test, pregnancy test, they do not have anything. But once they go there, I don't know where it comes from, they have a pregnancy. And it's not true.
Anyway, let the nominee answer the question, and we move to something else.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I think because the leaders are raising very important, and they don't have the information. Mr. Speaker, under your direction, we have a very robust, good leader, head of the military health department called Major General Nganga, through the chair of defense. I think you can call him to Akamkunji and he lists the conditions which disqualifies. I think because what these are raising is public knowledge. Even I think they should even go to the media and they should sensitize the public. And I think is something we have discussed.
Focus on your environment.
So, no, let me go to. I'm no longer there, so
yes.
Yes. Next minister will deal with it if approved. Yes. Speaker, Honorable Dawood talked about waste management. Waste management is a serious issue in our country. Mr. Speaker, why do I say so? The law is there, the regulations are there, county governments are not enforcing. NEMA, waste management in the first place, Mr. Speaker, is a devolved function. All that as we do is to support in terms of regulatory powers. But waste management will be something, if I'm approved, that I will take it seriously. From our homes, to the trucks that carry, to the dam sites, the dam site, the Dandora dam site, the one in Kachok, I think called in Kisumu, the whole environment is polluted, the air is polluted, the water is polluted. The law says you must color the bags, you must differentiate from the homes. Our homes have a responsibility. There must be designated bins in all our public places. To speak of one of the things that I want to introduce, if you approve me, is that even public transport must have a bin in the buses. You know, public places like even the parliament must have those two different. In the malls, there must be different bins. The one for the organic wet, the one for the dry. But public waste management, which is a devolved function, Mr. Speaker, is an area that I think we need to deal with.
A nightmare.
A nightmare. Number two, I think the Shamba system, the community forest association are working very well. Some are abusing the law. We have now put in place what we call the community forest association management plan, where they will help us which part of the forest with a proper plan they can graze, and which part of the forest they will help us and protect, and we will use.
Are you aware that your predecessor announced that there will be a Shamba system, and shortly thereafter, she said it will not?
That I think, I don't want to indict my colleague.
Do you recall that?
Yes, I recall.
Yes.
But Shamba system or grazing or farming in forest by communities around, under the Community Forest Association, which is in law, is about management, is about coexistence. We cannot regenerate, we cannot reforest, we cannot protect our forest if we leave the communities in our forest service. Karura Forest, the way you see it, the way it's managed, is run by Community Forest Association, and they're doing a very good work. Noise pollution.
Do you consider allowing that kind of engagement in plantation forests and not natural forests?
Yes, yes, because we have got 150,000 hectares of plantation forest, which now we have put proper transparency and integrity measures and tendering system, unlike the old system where there was allocation by the big people in government. I think I totally agree with you. Community Forest Association, community living around must be given an opportunity, particularly where even a plantation has been removed, for them, as we plant, for them to plant and for them to farm. In fact, farming can be well done under the plantation, Mr. Speaker. Coming to noise pollution, Mr. Speaker, is another serious thing, but again, it's a devolved function. It's a county function. They have no capacity. All they do is they give license to bus, they give license to clubs, and they don't choose which neighborhood There are people who have got sick people in their homes. There are people who have children who are doing homework. There are people who want to sleep early. But today you'll find bars and clubs in the residential area. Mr. Speaker, we will not leave that to county governments. We will enforce it. NEMA will enforce it. We will not allow noise pollution to take place in residential areas. The whole zoning, the whole land use system, even the land use system that the county government, has violated, must be brought back. So noise pollution is key, and we're going to deal with it, but it's a default function. I think, Honorable Mayor, I must say, I have discussed about the waste management.
Let's go to Gikaria.
Waste management I've done. Reforestation, we're doing very well with the 15 billion tree planting program that we have.
Gikaria.
Thank you, Chair. I've really taken note, being a chair of the Environment and Forestry Committee, the departmental committee, just for purposes of future reference on what the nominee is saying. But, Honorable Chair, I have two issues. One is about the 15 billion trees, a very ambitious program. But the scientists and a few of the experts are also arguing in terms of forest fires. Assuming we have the 15 billion trees, and only half of that, God forbid, catches fire. So what are the plans that the nominee will take into consideration when he will be, if nominated? What plans do you have to address forest fires? Secondly, and I don't want to belabor on the pollution that has been spoken about, Honorable Chair, most of our schools and other institutions from the colonial times have been using asbestos for purposes of roofing. And asbestos over the time have been a cause of cancer and environmental pollution. Maybe what plans are there for the nominee to address the use of asbestos that are in our schools, health institutions, and so many other places? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thanks, Speaker. Mine to begin with is, Speaker, I was looking at the resume or the CV of the nominee, and the CV has given a lot of hope to many Kenyans, professionals, that it's not only that you must come from Nairobi University that you can be nominated as a minister.
Which one is Nairobi University?
Almost every nominee, Honorable
Speaker.
Speaker.
The University of Nairobi. It's not Nairobi University.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you and I respect. I'll go your direction, but I will call it Nairobi University or University of Nairobi. But almost every nominee, Honorable Speaker, and I think this is good for record, for future, that people who have been to other universities, Moi University, Kenyatta University, all the people, Honorable Speaker, that I have seen, is only Nairobi University, Nairobi, almost everybody. Until when I was saying...
Ndiki came from Moi University.
It's only one. It's actually a rare species. With this one, there are only two. Everybody else, Honorable Speaker, and I think it's good for record, that other universities, graduates from other universities, are qualified to become also nominees of ministers and even ahead of it should not be Nairobi University. What about Kenyatta University? What about Moi University?